Ahoj, jmenuji se Zuzka a dnes budeme mluvit o slovesech. My name is Zuzka and today we're gonna speak about verbs and the Czech word order and how confusing yet a little bit logical it is. So, you might have noticed that there are certain words that move around in the sentence depending on many things, and you might not know why. I'm gonna show you in a very simple way. I have these cards. The blue ones are verbs. The green ones are parts of verbs, either reflexive verbs or objects. The yellow ones are mostly adverbial phrases or something else like pronouns, something that you can put at the beginning of the sentence. Well, that doesn't matter. The first phrase we're going to see is what I used at the beginning of the video. I would say Jmenuju se Zuzka, the verb. Part of the verb, which is the reflexive part, here it has the function of saying I call myself Zuzka. Yeah, this is what the verb works like. I call myself Zuzka. However, if I want to emphasize I call myself Zuzka, I would say ja. But it's not correct to keep it this way. This verb would have to go here. Já se jmenuju Zuzka. We start the sentence or the clause. It doesn't have to be right at the beginning of the sentence. It could be after comma in a clause. When we start with the verb, those green parts, reflexive verb, se, si, or object in the accusative like tě, mě, vás, even the dative, my, ti, nám, vám, etc., etc. They would go right after the verb, and then we would have the rest of the sentence. When we put something at before the verb, it doesn't have to be ja. It can be proč. It can be any other word. Proč? Why do I call myself Zuzka? Proč se jmenuju Zuzka? We would also have to invert it, just because there is something yellow in this case. Okay. These yellow parts, some of them would not make sense in this case. We will keep these two. They have to invert the order. So I always say that this green part, the green words, they are like watchdogs. They're guarding the verb. So when there is nothing, they're like, we will go after the verb as normal. But if there is something, any other word in front of it, they are like, oh, let's guard the verb. We have to be here. So this is what I would say. Já se jmenuju Zuzka versus jmenuju se Zuzka. You would also notice that in another easy phrase that you know. For example, mám se dobře. Mám se dobře. I am well. Literally, I have myself well. Mám se dobře. But if you wanted to emphasize, well, me, I'm well. What about you? I would put já. But again, this is not the way. This part, the green part, goes here. Já se mám dobře. Já se mám dobře versus mám se dobře. And that's why when you ask a question, how are you? You're starting with this. You are doing this. Jak se máš? So jak se máš? Again, the green part goes before the verb, before the blue part. So these are easy examples in present tense. Now, what would happen if we had past auxiliary verb to be, which we use to form the past. That's a little bit more complicated when we have this plus another, for example, reflexive part of the verb. So let's say I want to say spal si dobře. Spal means slept, you slept in this case. You slept well. Spal si dobře. Again, it's the same. Blue, green, the rest of the sentence. What if I want to say yesterday you slept well? Not today. What do we have to do with the word order? This is not correct. People will understand you, but they will be like, okay, it's a foreigner, but it could be better. You can simply do this. Včera si spal dobře. That's the correct order. Včera si spal dobře. Or any other word. Proč si spal dobře? With a question mark. Why did you sleep well? Proč si spal dobře? Já jsem nespala dobře. This is, as I said, any other word we would put here. Now, one more example for past tense, the most difficult one in this video. We would use the verb ptala, which is the feminine form for asked, you asked. We would have the question. We know that the verb ptát se comes with its reflexive, okay? You ask yourself something. Ptala se, that would be you. She asked, for example. And then we would say jsem se. That would be the past. I asked. Ptala jsem se. So, what if I wanted to add something here, some yellow part? Well, we could say yeah, obviously. Yeah. Now, how do we do that? Do we do this? Do we do this? It's a little bit more logical. They become one. The green part, they become a unit. They move like Lego pieces and they move as a unit the same way like we did before. Já jsem se ptala. Já jsem se ptala. One more thing. We will take away the word before, and we will add one more green part. Ptala jsem se tě, which is I asked you. I asked you. You have to remember this, that first we would have to have the auxiliary from the verb to be, then the reflexive, and then to you, which is here the object. Ptala jsem se tě. And then if you put something before, what do? Well, these move as a unit, they become one, and they go like this. Já jsem se tě ptala. Já jsem se tě ptala. Or I can put včera jsem se tě ptala. Yesterday I asked you. Or proč jsem se tě ptala? Why did I ask you? So this is what would happen. And as I said, any word, it doesn't have to be only these. You can put na co jsem se tě ptala? What did I ask you? Or teď. You could say the word teď, now. Any other, and also the conjunction, like protože, if there was a clause and there was another one. Protože jsem se tě ptala. Well, because I asked you. Except the conjunction and a or but. Ale, it doesn't apply to them. So if you put something, if you said ale, but I asked you, it would stay like this. Ale, ptala jsem se tě. So that's all. It's not that difficult.